So for me, the genius slot is the bit I love the most about our meetings. Usually because I deliver them, but that's not the only reason why. But the idea is the genius slot is about stretching ourselves and the people in the room. Now, Stuart Kerslake has been part of this community for 2.5, 3 years?
Yeah.
Odd. And not just a part of it, he's part of it. He's not a member, he's an active, involved person. Right? And when I asked him for the title, he said, I am not a number. I was like, yes, I love it, I can't wait. So, can we all welcome Stuart, and you're going to love this, I promise you.
Thank you. How long have I got?
You've got half an hour.
Oh!
We're back on time.
We'll have to look around in the
All right. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Right. Let's put this on here, and then we're done. We're ready. Right. So, as some of you know, I'm an accountant. Well, kind of an ex-accountant, but I still do bits and pieces. And so numbers are quite dear to my heart, and I just thought, making this up, some of you also know I following this methodology called Natural Success, where a lot of it is adventure. Isn't it interesting that we had adventure as the thing? It's about living in the unknown. Just living in the unknown. Can you imagine what a left brain, again, all ties in, ex-accountant feels like when he's told to go and live in the unknown? To be totally out of control. What is it we want to do all the time? We want to be in control. And that happens to be one of my particular patterns anyway. So this is what I'm doing. I'm doing it without a safety net. I've got a few notes, got a whiteboard. Erkan, I'll share this with you. Erkan said, are you going to be sending any slides? I said no, because from my experience, this is the bit that gets squeezed. So I'd rather be flexible with my time and not constrained by a presentation. So numbers. Right, first thing I wanted to do, who's up for a magic trick? Yeah, magic trick. Okay, fantastic. Pass that round. You're each going to take a card. Just choose a card at random from it and write it down. Okay, and just pass the pack around while I'm chatting. All right. Put it back in and pass it. Put it back in again and pass it around. Yeah, absolutely. So it's a magic. That's a magic trick. But cards, as you probably noticed there, they have numbers on them. That's one of the first connections with numbers. And there's quite a lot of other kind of. There's all the mundane stuff, if you like. We use for our numbers. We tend to use the Arabic numbers, unless we live in China or Russia, we tend to use the Arabic numbers, which actually may not have come from Arabia anyway, they probably came from India, but that's the system that we used. So we've got these digits 0 to 9. And we've got the seasons, there's 4 seasons, there's 12 months, there's 365 or 366 days in a year. 24 hours in a day, 60 minutes in an hour, 60 seconds in a minute. So we have all these numbers that our days are all made up with. And then there's other practical elements like, dimensions, distance, weight, height, length, width, space, time. All these things that are all tied up with numbers, and they kind of weave through our lives. But what I particularly wanted to look at today was some of these other numbers, some of the more arcane and esoteric numbers. So the first thing, the title of the presentation was I Am Not a Number. So does anyone know where that came from? Prisoner. Where's me? You get an apple. There you go. There you go. Does anyone know who it's played by? Who was first there? You were first there, weren't you? Oh, sorry, wrong one. What was Patrick McGowan's number? 6. Oh! Oops. I will emphasise these are organic, so watch out for weevils or whatever. So, fantastic, yeah. So I'm not a number. And what was the other half of that sentence? There's no apple for that, sorry. Yes, I'm not a number, I'm a free man. And that's what I want to try and get across today, is that we can there are all kinds of models out there that seek to maybe put us in a box. And that doesn't necessarily make them untrue, but they seek to put us in a box. So for example, and I'm quite a fan of some of these, but horoscopes are all about your birth pattern and all the rest of it. And there's 12 signs of the zodiac, etc., etc. Does everyone know their sign?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm not going to tell you anything about it because I don't know anything about it. But I just thought numerology, at its most basic level. Do you all know what your birth number is in numerology?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Right. So let's have a bit of fun. Let's do that. Someone be a guinea pig for me. Anyone happy to do it? Right. Go on, Terry. And the same premise will apply to everyone else in the room. You can work your own ones out. Okay. So what's your birth? When were you born?
22nd.
22nd.
The 7th.
The 7th.
1967.
1967. Okay. So what you do is you add all those digits together. All right. So 2, 4, 4, 11, 12. I'm only an accountant, so you better check the maths, yeah? 21, 27, 34. You all get 34 from that? Okay. But 34's got 2 numbers in it. So we do exactly the same principle. We add them together, so your number is 7. All right? And, you can go online and see exactly what that means to you. And all of you can do exactly the same thing with your particular numbers. All right? I'm a 3. No, go and look it up. Because firstly, I haven't got time. And secondly, numerology. Yeah?
So there's only 9 types of people?
There you go. Well, actually, there's 10. Because you can end up with 0.
Can you?
Yeah.
Oh, right, fine.
Yeah, because if you end up with a 1 and a 9,
Yes.
no, actually you can't end up. No, 10. No, you're right. So you're right. There are only 9. So it shows how much I know about this.
There's up to 11, 22 and 33 are the only double digits you're allowed. So I'm a 1, so I'm a 9 and a 1.
Oh, okay.
if you like. So I come to, or actually I'm 10, so therefore I'm a 1. But 11, my son's in 11.
Ah,
And you can go 22 and you can go 33, but that's where it stops.
there you go.
They're the
So-
only double digits.
So we'll work on the premise of 9. So another model, which I know some people in the room know far better than me, but I'm going to draw it anyway, if I can. What am I doing? Oh my goodness!
Circle first.
Do the circle first.
Circle first, and then just put the number 2.
No, I prefer doing.
2, and then you
But-
do the minus properly.
Yeah, I've got me. Sort of. This helps me doing the flow. Kind of. This is a model called the Enneagram. And I would normally have written it up here, but I had a little adventure on my way in. Went the wrong way. Sat nav. So, and this model here, so basically you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. And each of those is a personality profile. The 1 is the perfectionist. 2 is the helper. 3 is the achiever. 4 is, I don't know, the artist or tragic romantic, as they're sometimes called. 5 is the thinker. 6, the one I use is loyalist terrorist. So you can be either a loyalist or a terrorist or both, which is the devil's advocate often. The epicure. The boss, well, enthusiast is probably a better one, thank you. There you go, enthusiast, with a T somewhere in there. And 9 is the, I don't know, often the peacemaker. Boss, leader, well, yeah. These are just variations on a theme, there are various. So can any of you see yourself in some of those, just in those titles, without going into any more detail?
Yeah.
So who'd like to share something about where they see themselves in that model?
I'm a thinker.
You're a thinker. You are a thinker.
Anybody dispute that?
I'm a perfectionist peacemaker.
So there. Cool. In the model, quite often you can have one with strong wings either side. So that may well be the case. Anyone else?
It's a peacemaker.
Peacemaker. Cool. And in the model as well, you tend to move around the model in the flow, subject to when you're in high or low stress. So take, for example, I'm a boss. I'm an angry bugger most of the time. Probably most of you wouldn't know that necessarily, wouldn't imagine that from me, because, you know, that's me deep in my stuff, that's me in my ego. When I get stressed, I move down into the thinker, everything goes up into the head, all the barriers come up, put myself back in my cage, and hide away from the world. Yeah, thinking. And they all, so the perfection, the helper puts everyone else before themselves. The achiever is pushing, driven, you know, constantly moving on. The artist, you know, their underlying belief is they don't belong here. Never find a community to belong in, perhaps don't even belong in this world. Those three are all about emotions, particularly kind of depression and those kind of emotions. Those three. Those three are all about fear, and those three are all about anger, and they project themselves in different ways. Again, go on the internet, have a look if you want to do that. So the truth is, I define myself as an 8, but I'm not. I'm not a number. I'm a free man, as we determined at the front. But boy, is it helpful to know how I play out in the world. Yeah? From my ego, not from my genius. My genius is whole and complete and perfect. Doesn't need to know about the numbers. In fact, it's having a good giggle at the moment. But this is how we play out in the world in our humanness. Very controlling in my case. Controlling of others initially as an 8, and then controlling of myself and my space and my environment as a 5 when I go into high stress. And there are, you know, I'm just talking about the shadow, if you like, the dark side of this. There are, there's the light side of the Enneagram as well, but I just wanted to talk about that. So there's all these variety of models out there, you know, some quite arcane ones, as I say, that seek to define us. But I'd like to suggest that the one very important number is 2. And that is that there are 2 orientations. There's your orientation of your ego, and there's the orientation of your genius. And the latter is your true nature and purpose. You've just forgotten that. And so, you know, some of you see, it wouldn't be Stuart if there wasn't a prop in his back pocket. So you've seen the rubber band before. This is what goes on in our reality. We have a genius orientation that says that is whole and perfect and complete, and has things that it would love to be, do, or have. And then we've got our egoic relationship here, which is I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. Each of these have kind of belief patterns behind them. You know, I don't belong. I've got an incapacity belief. There isn't enough of things. All this stuff going on, and that of itself causes tension between the two, because you've got a disparity between what you'd love and your current reality, including all of those belief patterns that you have. And, you know, for another time, some of you have seen me do my know and be known slot around this, but from that tension, actually, that's where all the power really lies, in holding that tension and actually saying, do you know what? I do feel rubbish today. I do, you know, I have got this belief pattern, but I'd love to go to Africa, for the sake of argument. Some of you heard me tell that story. And it could play out in very little things as well, because I came in here late, frustrated, in my head, embarrassed because I was sweating and all the rest of it. So just reframe. What would you love, Stuart? Well, I'd love to cool down. All right, go and sit outside. So that's what I did for the first 5 minutes. And actually, figuratively cooled me down as well, as well as physically. So those, you know, so we're back to the numbers again. What do we think? You know, nowadays, three numbers I think are really quite important: 0, 1, and 8. Who can tell me what that's about?
Binary and bits in a byte.
Do you want another apple?
I'm going to take home and I'll pick it up. You know.
Okay, fair enough. Spot on. What was the answer, Colin? Oops.
0 and 1 is binary.
Yes.
And there are 8 bits in a byte.
8 bits in a byte. Fantastic. So now we have a... and I'm actually old enough to remember punch tape where we actually had the 8 bits on a piece of punch tape, you know. So now we have megas and gigas and all this kind of stuff. So what's a terabyte?
A lot.
A lot. Anyone know what it is? 1,000 gigabytes, thank you very much. And not what I thought it was, which is my imagination of what will happen with AI gets in. Terabyte, oh, don't worry about it. So, that one. So, where are we? Okay, so what I wanted to now do is just look at, before we move off those patterns there, your cards, the trick, if you like, is that that was not a standard pack of cards. I'd included 4 jokers in there, which I'd written the word knave on, in case any of you got that. So you've all just drawn a tarot card. Ooh. So you can now go away if you want and look on the internet and see what that says for you in what you chose here today. There's 52 cards in a standard pack. In the original pack there used to be 4 knaves as well to make it 56. And those 56 mirror the 56 cards of a tarot pack. 56 ticks in your book, there you go. So there we are. Spooky.
I wanted to do like 77 or 57 and it just wouldn't land. And the publisher knows it's 56, it fits all the rest of it. And I mean, what's that 56? What's that mean?
Now you know.
There you go. So there's magic in that. For those of you who've ever done anything with the tarot or related things, there will be some meaning in the cards that you chose today if you want to go and look at it. It is, yeah. It is. Tarot and playing cards.
Oh, okay.
And yeah.
I bought my first set of tarot cards on holiday this summer.
There you go.
Turkish ones in a Turkish book.
Oh, there you
So
go.
I'd learned Turkish and tarot. That's quite a challenge.
And again, that will tell you some fantastic things about what's going on in that half of your world, in that egoic part of your world. Because actually, if you haven't got that awareness, it doesn't really matter how clear you are on this end. You haven't got that tension. Your greatest gift is your wound. Various other people have said things along those lines. Yeah? So understanding what you do to sabotage yourself, what you do to stay small, what you do to reconfirm this sense of incompleteness that you have. That has that landed well over there? Oh no, he's on the phone.
I'm reading what I've got.
Share it later. I haven't got much time. So those are various models that will help you with the awareness that we've looked at earlier. But what I wanted to really look about was the 3, 2, and 1. 3, okay, it happens to be my birth number, from numerology, but it is also a incredibly powerful number. If you think of trinities or triptychs, whatever you want to call them, even Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, that's probably the most common one. Sorry? Pyramids. Or triangles. Triangle, the strongest, shape. Milk intolerance? What was that?
Milking stools.
Oh, milking stools, exactly. 3 legs, it's the most... That's a different genius slot. So what what's another apple for that in a minute? So what I wanted to say was just a little exercise. You can do this for yourself. Take something. I'm not going to pick on Ercan again, but just ask yourself a question. And what are you for? So something that you're for. I'm not going to ask you to. You could do this another time or whatever. Yeah. What are you? And in that space of what you're for, so I'm going to say, I don't know, I'm for human rights, okay? So actually, what are you against? Well, I'm against the abuse of dictators. In that context, what are you against? I'm against the abuse of dictators, okay?
The abuse of
Well, by dictators of other people, yeah, of their of their population, yeah? So I'm for human rights, and I'm against, the abuse of dictators. Can you see that that's actually on exactly the same level of vibration? They're actually just two sides of a seesaw. It's the law of polarity, exactly that. Light, dark, good, bad, hot, cold. Yin yang is an interesting one, because the masculine and feminine is actually a separate law if you go into the Kybalion and stuff like that. So you've got polarity as one, masculine and feminine as another. And there's huge power in the integration of the two. But you're right, they are two sides of a coin, if you like. So the more energy that you put into what you're for, potentially the more energy you're giving here to keep the seesaw in balance. Back to the law of polarity. So in that context, what would you love? I have no idea. I'd love to, become a peace.
Okay, so for
Yeah,
example,
in that
if
space.
mine was love and connection, that's what I'm for. So my against is hate, fear, and separation.
Yeah.
So what would I love?
Yeah.
Peace.
There you go.
Does that work? Is that
Yeah,
what you're getting at?
absolutely.
So concentrate on the peace bit rather than the
Thank you.
yeah,
Absolutely
harmony,
that.
it's the harmony.
Harmony.
Yeah.
Absolutely that, because that is a higher vibration. And firstly, that will resonate more with you. And then secondly, it will resonate more with the other people that you're actually looking to touch with what you're talking about here. Yeah? Raise your vibration. So there's another, and as you can see that's then effectively a triptych, a trilogy, a triangle. Another one I wanted to do is this one. So again, back to polarity. We've got past here, and we've got future here. Okay? Who spends a fair amount of their time thinking about the past? Maybe judging themselves for what they did in the past, or old people do.
Most people do.
Yeah.
Most people do.
Yeah. Replaying that thing that, that happened when you were 2, that you're playing over again and again and again, that told you don't belong, that told you you're not worthy, that told you, you don't have the capacity. How much of your energy do you give to the past? Honestly. Worth thinking about. Worth thinking about. How much of your time do you spend projecting into the future? Yeah? We all do it. I do it. We all do it. But again, what I would suggest is you're back to this polarity again. They're on the same path. They're on the same vibration, if you like. So what have we got up here?
Present.
Presents. Someone got an apple. Yeah, presents now. So, would it be fair to say that actually if you are wholly and fully present, and I haven't got time to do a mindfulness exercise now, I was thinking of doing one, but if you are wholly present, there's likely to be an absence of thinking. And I would actually suggest to you that there is no such thing as a present moment thought. Every thought you have is either impacted by the past or is projecting into the future. Different vibration again. Yeah? So the next number I wanted to talk about was 2, and we talked about it a little bit. It's back to this. I mean, I've woven things in as we go. It's that the duality that we've talked about, because there is that duality. That's a 2 number. There's also this genius orientation and your egoic orientation. So, which would you choose? Which one are you going to give the energy to? You're going to give your energy to what you'd love, or you're going to give your energy to your ego? And if it's, if you want to give it to what you'd love, getting awareness around what goes on in your ego can be hugely empowering, which is why I talked about some of those other modalities at the start. So here's some numbers for you. Research has shown that there's 400 billion bits per second that your mind is being exposed to. 400 billion bits per second. The reality is that only about 2,000 of those, I don't know what fraction that is, I'm only an accountant, can't do the maths, is your, we use the word self-conscious, aware of. So your unconscious, your subconscious is probably aware of the other bits and pieces, but the bit that in this moment that you're self-consciously aware of is about 2,000 bits out of all of that. The challenge is that it's usually exactly the same 2,000 bits. You know, it's Groundhog Day. It's, you know, that well-trodden path down the mountainside, repeating over and over and over again. So there are some more numbers there. But actually, the most important number of all is the number 1. Because what I'd like to suggest to you is that there is only one mind. We've all got individual brains, but there is only one mind, and we're all little individuation of that one mind. Call it God, call it Source, call it the universe, call it the Force. Whatever it is that's out there, that we're all woven into the fabric of that, and we're all part of that oneness. So Erkan was talking about the macro on Be Inspired. You know, when we do something that damages things on a macro level, you know, we're obviously having an impact into that one mind, but it still stems from what we do at the micro level. So what each and every one of us choose to do in any instant is having an impact on the oneness. Yeah? Is that fair to say? If you believe that premise, and it is only a premise. But actually I would suggest that there is one number that even tops 1, if you like. There's a bit of a cheat because it's not really a number. No? Infinity. There you go. There's got to be an apple in that. Theoretically it's not a number because you can always add 1 to it. So, but as a state of being, exactly that. Yeah. And nothing. So 0, there you go. There you are. You're right. You want an apple. Somebody, oh, you got the bruised one. Sorry. I said someone's going to get a bruise.
I think you're hungry because you know you haven't had dinner and you're thinking of the future meal.
There you go, you see. Oh, no, but what she'd love. She'd love an apple. Yeah, infinity. You know, abundance. It really is just another definition for the oneness, the one mind. I think that's about it, wasn't it? I think I'm done. Thank you.